Yo, what's going on, guys? Of course, we need to just say this was against the Hornets. But for a team like the Hawks, I think it's sometimes easy to discredit them, and to treat them as an afterthought. By the way, Trae Young, according to ESPN, became the 6th player in NBA history to make 21 free throws or more without a single miss. He actually had a terrible night shooting, 7 of 20, missed all 5 of his 3-pointers. He had 12 assists to go with that. I know this is a lottery-bound team in Charlotte, but Caris LeVert, George Niang, Vit Krejci, Terrence Mann show that this Hawks team is going in the right direction. What are they building? They knew with Trae Young, you had to surround the man with size. So this team is big, two-way. We can see what they want to build. Shooting, size, and competition on both ends of the floor. And I think that's what they really want. And I think the whole thing is people don't realize this is the second full season under Quinn Snyder. And Quinn Snyder is known to bring in kind of like a unorthodox system that takes a full season to integrate. And if you want to compare it to Utah, it was really in his 3rd season when everything started to trend upwards to the crescendo that we saw, where the Utah Jazz became this formidable threat in the West that people had to account for. And I think the idea of building around Trae as the key cog and the rest of the squad basically being these guys, with Jalen Johnson being able to be a secondary playmaker, X Factor, and Zachary Ricochet. You have shooting with George Niang. You have defense with Trae Mann and Vit Krejci. You also have Dom Barlow to be a switch big, really backup big, unless you bring Clint Capella back, is going to be a question. And seemingly Kobe Buffkin might be the backup point guard you've been needing, with Vit, who can help that out. So you then have as your tertiary playmaker, your third playmaker, Dyson Daniels, who in every facet of his game has improved. So to me, I just look at that and I just think this team has the makings of everything you'd want. So why not? Why not them? And that's the big thing for me. To me, one of the things I wanted to speak on is just the disrespect that this Hawks team gets. Shout out Vit Krejci. Did I say that correct? I know it's Krejci, right? Krejci or Krejci? It's Krejci. Vit Krejci. Either way, Trae Young, man, this is a guy that we need to talk about how people act like he isn't a top 5 player in his position. I think he's having an all-NBA campaign. He may just miss out on it, but this is a guy that over his last 10, I know he's shooting 39% and 25%, but on the season, 32.5% from 3, 40% isn't his best numbers. Also, he just gets freaking attacked by everybody. Everybody on the opposing team seemingly is fixated on him, but what this allows is for his teammates to have a better year than in past these seasons. I also want to say in February, he was shooting 42% from the field, 30% from 3, but a guy who's a 25 point per game scorer, averaging like 12 assists a night, having his best defensive year. This is a Hawks team that continues to impress. Dyson Daniels is the best perimeter defender in the league. There isn't anybody better. That's just so impressive with what they're able to do on any given night due to this lineup. They can go toe-to-toe with a lot of people, and I think they're they're going to be a play-in team this year, but they're realistically a couple pieces away from being scary, and it's because they've gotten big. They're 31-34, seventh in the Eastern Conference. I guess they're 32-34 now. Wait, no, 31-34. What day is it today? Today's the 12th? Yeah, I guess today's the 12th. I'm an idiot. Today's the 12th, so they're 32-34, and they're a top 5 scoring offense. Third worst in opponents' points per game, and their pace is second best, 18th in offensive rating, 19th in defensive rating, 10th worst net rating. So, not the prettiest of stats. And for a team that injury-wise, we know Kobe Buffkin and Jalen Johnson were both out for the season. Karis LeVert's day-to-day. Larry Nance also with the knee. And Trae Young tonight, great game. But I like Terrence Mann. I also love that Don Barlow got this multi-year deal. But from the stats, this is a team, they're putting up hella shots. They put up a lot. They actually middle of the road three-point wise. They put up a lot of 2-point shots. And they attempt a bunch of free throws. They're 6th worst at converting them. They do a good job of rebounding. Could be a better defensive rebounding team. They offer the 7th worst offensive rebounding as a team. So there's things that you can improve on, like this team. By getting rid of Capella for maybe a bouncier, springier center could help. Cutting back on turnovers and fouling is going to help them. But you can clearly see that this is a team that has the blueprints with Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, Zachary Risache, Jalen Johnson, Vit Krejci. And obviously, I think if you look at like Terrence Mann's another guy that I like George Niang giving him some 3-point shooting. Kobe Buffkin seemingly was the backup point guard that they've wanted for a while. I think outside of that, Don Barlow could be a switch big for them to give them depth. This is Gay or Gee in Muhammad? This is Mo Gay, right? This is Mo Gay, not Muhammadu Gee. So I think there's things that you have to admit that, okay, you gotta like. And one thing I will say that people aren't talking about that I think has been helpful since his arrival is Karis LeVert, who's going to be an expiring contract, but 17 points a night there, and then 14 points a game from George Niang. I think George Niang is a huge one for them. Just fantastic. Another guy who I know he's only played 2 games, but Daquan Plowden in those 2 games has been pretty solid. I wonder if they'll keep Karis LeVert. If they can keep him for a cheap price, what's a cheap price to me would be 3 years, 36, or 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, 36 sounds good to me. Pay him 12 on average. I wouldn't mind that. Maybe do next year 14, the following year 12, and then the next year 10. That's not terrible value. So I think there's a lot to like here, a lot to point out. But when you're dealing with a team like the Hawks that are clearly, if we can get, I think building up the bench, because ideally the starting lineup next year, Trae, Dyson, Zachary, Jalen, Onyeka, Terrence Mann off the bench, George Niang off the bench. Who else? Maybe Karis LeVert. Like, there's some pieces right there that I think are definitely interesting to say the least and have to be put up for consideration. I want to hear your thoughts right there.